Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. We will be discussing some of the changes to our PSHE curriculum and how it will be delivered. This presentation covers the following topics: the statutory guidance and what it means for schools, what the guidance means for parents and carers, specifically what is statutory and what is optional, and right to withdraw, how Jigsaw supports parents, particularly around accessing materials to view and talking to their children about growing up, how the guidance fits into the Jigsaw scheme of work. This will include some examples of lessons and materials, how we will manage questions from children, and any questions you might want to ask. When thinking about this, staff have considered how our children learn about different types of relationships and to reflect on how we learnt growing up. Even among our staff, this can be very different, so it's certainly changed a lot in recent years. From birth, small children learn about relationships through their family interactions with parents, siblings, grandparents and the wider family members. They also learn through close family friends. Hopefully these relationships are close and loving so children grow up feeling safe and secure. When they get into school, they learn to form relationships with people they don't know, both with adults and other children. Friendships form when they learn how to make friends and start to see how friendships may change with time, falling out and moving friendship groups. The government has introduced an obligation for schools to teach about relationships and more. Access to online media and websites gives children more indication of what relationships may look like between people. Not all of the information they see may be useful or safe. Some of these interactions may be positive, but others may give a more negative impression. Children may see how adults relate to each other as friends, as romantic partners, as intimate partners, and opinions on the internet can vary widely and can be very confusing. Social media is full of people with differing opinions of what a relationship is. Some of these may be toxic and negative, others will be more positive and demonstrate respect, tolerance and love. On TV, they may see a fight scene in a soap opera, but they might also see depictions of positive relationships. In music, some lyrics use controversial language and language that may not be age appropriate. And in social media, chat rooms, gaming may introduce children to others that they don't know or can't see, so they need to learn how to be discerning users. When it comes to relationships, children's heads are probably not empty, but they may have picked up inaccurate information, myths and half-truths from lots of different sources. Our focus will be on building healthy attitudes and positive relationships so children can make good decisions later in life and become kind, caring adults. We mustn't let our adult knowledge of relationships and sex prevent us from seeing things from a child's perspective. This list illustrates all the ways that Jigsaw lessons support children when dealing with sensitive topics. We chose this scheme because safeguarding is a key factor, and we are teaching children about healthy relationships in a safe and supportive environment. We are reviewing our curriculum and consulting with parents due to a change in statutory guidance. In England, this statutory guidance was published in July 2025. It replaces a guidance that has been in place since 2020 and is due to come into force from the 1st of September 2026. The guidance is split into two main sections for primary schools: relationships education and health and wellbeing education. Both sections contain elements which are statutory. This means that schools must teach these lessons and parents cannot take their children out of the lessons. The only exception for this in primary schools is the requirement to teach sex education. This is still optional for primary and will be discussed later. This quote is directly from the guidance document. The focus for primary relationship education should be on teaching the skills and knowledge that form the building blocks of all positive relationships, supporting children from the start of their education to grow into kind, caring adults who have respect for others and know how to keep themselves and others safe. The relationships content is split into 5 sections, which are statutory for primary schools to teach. Each section is further subdivided into a number of statements. There are 37 in total, which must be delivered across years 1 to 6 at primary school. Many of the statements will be revisited across more than one year group, and the content will adjust to the age of the children as they mature and grow. In addition, primary schools can also choose to teach sex education to their pupils. This is optional for primary schools, and we will talk about sex education in Holywell and what options parents have later in the presentation. The content in relationships education is there to prepare children for later life. Content includes examining different types of families and those who care for children, caring and respectful relationships, and what those look like. It includes how to stay safe in today's world, including risks and safety online as well as offline. It also prepares children for more complex content at secondary school. Our school has decided not to teach the sex education lessons included in the Jigsaw curriculum. Sex education is defined as any lessons containing content about sexual intercourse, conception, the stages of pregnancy, or birth. Jigsaw provides alternative content which we will be delivering instead. Pupils at Holywell will continue to learn about reproduction through our teaching in science. Parents can only withdraw their children from sex education lessons delivered as part of the PSHE curriculum. As just stated, Holywell has made the decision not to teach any sex education lessons within the PSHE curriculum. Other lessons found in relationships and all the health and wellbeing section of the guidance, including puberty lessons, are statutory, which means parents cannot withdraw their children from these lessons. If you have any questions, we are keen to engage with you about this. Please feel free to contact us via the school office to speak to Mrs. Warner, the PSHE lead. Schools are obliged to comply with the Equality Act 2010, which covers all of the protected characteristics. When covering topics such as relationships and developing bodies, schools may get additional questions from parents about two protected characteristics in particular: religion and belief and LGBT relationships. The guidance recognises that these two protected characteristics can generate additional anxiety for some parents and has specific sections within the guidance to clarify the position for schools. The guidance makes specific content about religion and belief. There is no right to withdraw from relationships or health education. The guidance is clear that schools should be able to teach these subjects to people of all faiths and within the ethos of their school. There will be teachers who do not agree with elements of the curriculum as it contradicts their faith, but as with any other subjects, teachers are expected to deliver content in a balanced and impartial way. As you can see from these quotes, the guidance makes specific references to LGBT content. It is clear throughout the guidance that for primary schools, representations of different types of families, breaking down stereotypes, and having respect for others in a fair society is a priority throughout all teaching and learning. The guidance states, schools should be sensitive to pupil circumstances, recognising that families of many forms provide a nurturing environment for children and can include single parent families, same-sex parents, families headed by grandparents, young carers, kinship carers, adoptive parents, and foster parents and carers. Teaching should illustrate a wide range of family structures in a positive way, and care should be taken to ensure that children are not stigmatised based on their home circumstances. The DfE launched a consultation on gender questioning children in 23-24, and we are still awaiting the new guidance as a result. It is due to be published in 2025, but has not been released yet. The use of the correct terminology will be key within schools. It is already clear that the term transgender should not be used in schools, but rather use the term gender questioning children. There are no specific lesson requirements for primary schools to teach about gender questioning children, and the Jigsaw scheme of work does not include specific mention of gender questioning children. Instead, the focus is on teaching about different types of relationship, respecting difference, and the themes of acceptance, tolerance, and respect. This quote is directly from the guidance. The aim of teaching about health and well-being is to enable pupils to make good decisions about their own health and well-being, to understand the links between physical and mental health, to recognise when things are not right in their own health or the health of others, and to seek support when needed. Health and well-being consists of 9 different subject areas. There are 43 statements to deliver between years 1 and 6. As with relationships, the statements may be revisited a number of times across the years they are taught, building on the children's knowledge and understanding from previous years. The guidance covers a wide range of health and wellbeing content, all of which is statutory to teach. This means parents cannot withdraw their children from these lessons. Content includes exploring physical health, such as the importance of a balanced diet, physical activity and sleep, personal safety, including road, railway and water safety, and some age-appropriate drug education, particularly looking at alcohol, tobacco and vaping. It is also strongly linked to emotional awareness, how children can look after their own well-being both online and offline, and some basic first aid. These lessons also include the category called Developing Bodies, which are lessons on puberty and menstruation. We will look at these lessons in more detail next. Health and wellbeing content includes the statutory subject of developing bodies. This is where the puberty lessons are delivered. These statements within the developing bodies section show what we are obliged to teach to our pupils. Again, in Jigsaw, these lessons are taught in an age-appropriate way and build year on year. There are lessons linked to developing bodies throughout the scheme of work, and later slides will illustrate some of the content. These lessons do not include any mention of sexual activities, as we are not including sex education in our PSHE curriculum. Parents therefore cannot withdraw children from these lessons on developing bodies. So what does this guidance mean for parents and their children? Well, school is excellent at creating a safe space for children to gather accurate information about these topics as they grow up. Children can ask questions and receive accurate and truthful answers from adults they can trust. Lessons build year on year, so content remains age appropriate. This means making sure children don't get taught things that they are too young for, whilst allowing teachers to sensitively and safely respond to topics children have encountered on or offline. There is some example lesson content coming up later in this presentation. The aim is for children to build on early positive relationships between family and friends and use their experiences as the foundations for understanding respect and kindness in all relationships. Children will be able to recognise what counts as abusive behaviour, learn how to stay safe and where to get help if they need it. The following slides contain some of the teaching materials we will be using with the Jigsaw scheme. As you can see from these images, the age appropriateness of the content has been carefully considered by Jigsaw. Forming new friendships when children start school is important. Children being able to recognise what it feels like to get on with and fall out with friends, argue and have strategies to mend friendships is a valuable life skill that helps build resilience. Practicing useful strategies and learning how to manage feelings is tackled in lessons through scenario and role play. The guidance asks schools to recognise and value the many different types of family there are, including those with same-sex parents, single-parent families, those led by grandparents, extended families, step-families, foster families, etc. In Key Stage 1, this is tackled through using a wide range of images so children can see families that look like theirs and recognise that there are other types also. The imagery occurs throughout the scheme of work in all the different themes throughout the year. Key Stage 2 lessons build on those taught earlier in the school and explore difficult feelings such as jealousy, loss and bereavement. Recognising that everyone feels this way at times is reassuring for children, and the lessons look to give children strategies for coping with and managing difficult feelings. Lessons on online safety and awareness consider ways of being a discerning user of the internet and how to question some online content. Strategies for staying safe online are taught at this age. Some of the following slides show how health and wellbeing education will be taught in our school. In Key Stage 1, personal safety, including around roads, railways and water, are part of the curriculum. These are introduced at Key Stage 1 and built on in Key Stage 2. For physical health, lessons cover all aspects of physical health, including the importance of hand washing, sun safety, toothbrushing, good quality sleep, healthy diets and physical activity. The images are used in Key Stage 1 lessons to start to introduce the correct names for body parts as laid out in the guidance, and to show how we change as we grow up. These lessons then set the scene for puberty lessons later in Key Stage 2. These lessons consider the various effects of smoking tobacco and vaping in Upper Key Stage 2. They also practice assertiveness skills in the children and how to resist pressure to do something they may not want to do. There are also lessons on alcohol. All Key Stage 2 children consider the changes that will happen to their bodies, split into outside changes and inside changes. These changes introduce common language such as a name for body parts and a consideration of the emotional effects of puberty alongside the physical changes they will observe. These are some examples of how puberty is taught in Key Stage 2. There are separate lessons that look at changes in males and in females, including menstruation for girls. Again, we want to reassure parents that these lessons are really age appropriate and that a safe learning environment is set so that children and adults can feel comfortable. You can have access to these materials as they are taught through a parent portal which will be in place from September, and information about this will be sent to you as these topics are covered. At Holywell, we recognise that our PSHE curriculum and discussing these topics will naturally lead to some questions from some children. Schools provide safe spaces for children to explore these sensitive topics, and feeling safe enough to ask questions and to receive accurate and truthful answers in return is part of that trusting relationship that school staff have with our pupils. At Holywell, supporting the child is crucial, and answering children's questions is important so they do not turn to inappropriate sources of information if their questions go unanswered. We may refer children to their parent or carer depending on what the question is, and it's likely this will depend on individual circumstances. We may also signpost parents, carers or children to services when needed or appropriate. Each time a PSHE lesson is taught at Holywell, the class will look again at the charter that has been agreed across the school. This is a set of rules that protect both children and adults when delivering sensitive topics. By agreeing to simple rules like not using names of children in class unless it is positive, it's okay to pass on a discussion, it's okay not to know all the time, this creates a safe environment for all. At this point, we'd also like to make it clear that we teach children about being private about things discussed and respecting privacy and being confidential about things that are discussed in class, but it is not that they keep secrets. And if we have any concerns about a child's safety or well-being, we would use our normal practice of referring to a designated safeguarding lead for the school. Parent information from Jigsaw on how you can support your child learning about the PSHE curriculum and what will be taught in schools has been sent to you and will be available on our website. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and we hope it has answered some of your concerns and worries that you may have about our new curriculum. If there are still things you would like answered or discussion points you'd like to raise, we welcome your opinions, and please do contact us via the school office. Thank you again.